The only caution I would say to my friends across the aisle is do not be so quick to start talking about hearings and subpoenas and tax returns, because to do that, you are playing exactly into Donald Trump's hands. You are on page 1 of his playbook, which begins probably with a tweet in 3 hours.
And, Mr. Chairman, the voters tonight are saying pre-existing conditions. They're not saying get his tax returns.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I think that's, again, you talk about what Republicans have to learn, what Democrats have to learn is understand why you won. Understand what brought you to this moment.
Isn't there a deal there?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
You know who the perfect person to talk to at this exact moment in the conversation
would
would be?
Who would that be, Rachel?
If we could get Congressman Adam Schiff, who is the incoming chairman of the Intelligence Committee, what are the odds? Hi, Congressman Adam Schiff of California. When we speak about him, sometimes he appears. Congressman, we're really, really happy to have you with us tonight. According to NBC News projections, you are on deck to be the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee as your party appears poised to take control of the House. What's your reaction to that news and to that big new responsibility that you've just been given?
Well, I'm very grateful to people all over the country, millions of people who've been really working day and night for 2 years to make this happen, to essentially retake the control in the direction of the country, to make sure that the Congress once again can play its role as a co-equal branch of government. So I feel enormously grateful for all of those that work so hard. And this is a big responsibility. Look, it's a big vote of confidence by the American people. And we're going to set a positive agenda going forward on just the issues that you were talking about. Making sure that people can afford their health care, that if they have pre-existing conditions, they can keep their health care, that we address the needs of so many Americans who, yes, are working, but not earning enough to get by. But we also intend to make sure that the oversight role that the Republicans so completely abdicated, we once again, the Congress once again undertakes and does so responsibly.
Congressman, Devin Nunes is one of the Republicans who abdicated that oversight role in the Russia investigation. Your investigation, your committee's investigation, abruptly cut short. Greg Miller, who covers national security for the Washington Post, tweeted tonight that you, as the new chairman of the House Intel Committee, will bring back Trump Jr. You'll bring back perhaps Roger Stone or Paul Manafort, other witnesses. Do you have a list? Do you know what you're going to do as the chairman? And are you able to tell us who you want to bring back?
I'm not able to tell you that tonight. We're certainly going to look at the work that we were able to do. We're going to look at the work that the GOP obstructed on our committee. And it was really worse than abdicating the responsibility of the committee. The majority went further to be complicit in the president's attacks on the independence of the Justice Department, on the men and women of the FBI, on our intelligence community. So we also need to restore the relationship between our committee and the intelligence community and law enforcement. But look, at the time when we formally take control of the House, that won't be until January. And we'll have to see what Bob Mueller has been able to do and what Bob Mueller has been able to say, either via indictment or via report. And that will also guide what we intend to do in our committee.
A former national security official who worked for Democratic and Republican presidents reminded me today that legislation was never passed to protect Robert Mueller's investigation, making your work and your committee's work all the more important. What do you think the prospects are for Robert Mueller being allowed to complete his work, with Donald Trump maybe viewing tonight's results as some sort of endorsement of his presidency?
I think that the chances that Bob Mueller will be able to finish his work improved for the reason that our committee and others like the Government Reform Committee and the Judiciary Committee, which under Republican leadership served as basically surrogates for the president in their efforts to batter down the Justice Department, to give the president a pretext to fire people in the Justice Department. All of that, that tearing down of the independence of these institutions is going to end. Now, that doesn't mean that the president can't still act in ways that are antithetical to the rule of law and the interests of justice, but it does mean that we're better able to protect our institutions and see this investigation, I hope, complete.
Hey, Congressman, we're going to join Nancy Pelosi in progress. Just in the closing seconds before we do, I have a question for you about the integrity of our election system. How thorough and complete, in your mind, is Russian intervention into our government and our systems? Do you look at any numbers on a night like tonight and worry there are any shenanigans going on? Do you think we have integrity in all the numbers we've reported tonight?
Well, I certainly hope that we have integrity in the numbers that you reported tonight. Honestly, as we've approached Election Day, my concerns over what the Russians were doing were less than my concerns over what the Secretary of State in Georgia was doing, over the elections equipment in Texas, over what was going on in Nebraska, over what might have been self-inflicted wounds in terms of our election integrity, but as well the fact that so many states still, at this day and age, after what we've been through, do not have a paper trail, I think is just negligence on its face, and we're going to have to do far better than that in the future.
Congressman Adam Schiff, Chairman-elect Adam Schiff, thank you very much for joining us from Burbank, California tonight. We appreciate it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.